Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of JourneyCast. I'm Levi.
I'm Alicia.
And joining us today is Jordan Koch.
Woo!
Jordan,
thanks for having me.
how are you doing?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
Who are you,
Doing
Jordan?
great, yeah.
What should someone know about you?
What are you doing?
I'm guessing because you couldn't find anybody else.
No, honestly,
You're on the list.
You are very flexible. That it does help.
Mm-hmm.
No, we had you on the list because you're a very talkative person, which is great for
We
this
like
sort
that.
of thing.
Yeah.
Some people they're just like
They have nothing to say.
know, you know.
Right.
It's hard sometimes.
No, you were on the list. You weren't a last resort.
No.
Just flexible.
Just flexible.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
And we should have planned better.
Yeah, we should have planned a little further in advance.
Sometimes
but
it's fun though not to plan.
It is.
Like
True.
to wing
Are you
it.
free
Yeah.
tomorrow? You want to be on our podcast?
Yeah.
We typically like to record at least at the most a week before the episode comes out, at the least a few days before it comes out. This is the day
Yes.
before it comes out. So
Whoa,
This is like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they're
Tomorrow.
gonna see.
yeah.
So interesting. I have to
Yeah.
think about some things as we're processing this. Then, what opportunities gonna happen this
Yes.
Tuesday?
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
one of your favorite words.
You like to talk about opportunities a lot.
Yeah, but still, who
I do.
are you?
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is Jordan.
Cool.
Even saying that, I don't like though. I did not grow up liking my name.
Me
Really?
too.
Yeah, for a long time.
Really?
Totally. Yes.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, I struggled with that. Like I remember my brother telling somebody my middle name, and I was in tears. I was so upset that and this is what it was when I was a kid, obviously, but
So you don't like your middle name either, like all of
didn't
it.
like my name. Period.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
wow.
my last name, I can handle because I shared it with my family and I like them.
So I'll be honest. I thought people were calling you Jordan Coach because you would always come out to camp and lead games. I'm like, oh, he's like the coach. And then I realized one day I was like, oh no, that's his last name. Okay,
Right. I know.
but it is fitting.
It works.
Yeah.
I guess it does work. So
Have you come to terms with your name?
I have. I kind of figured that my mom gave it to me, my dad gave it to me, and there's could have been a lot worse names.
Do you know what you would have preferred to have been named? Like,
No,
You just know you don't like it.
I didn't like. I can't. I can't identify as a name in a sense, right? Like so.
You don't want to
I
let your
just
name
don't feel
define
like
you.
I don't know. Alicia is just, I don't know. I
Yeah.
answer to it, but I don't feel like it's a good name. Well, I don't.
Do you want to change it?
Well, not really.
See-
It's just like it is what it is. It'd be so much harder, right? But like, I like my middle name. My middle name's Michelle. I sort of feel like I'm more of a Michelle than Alicia. But maybe it's because
But
like
there's
no
another
one's
Michelle
ever
at
called me
Hillcrest,
Allie.
so-
I'm not an Allie, right?
Right.
No one's ever called me that. So like everyone can at least acknowledge that, right? For whatever weird reason that is.
Yeah.
But like I've got this thing called synesthesia, with color letter synesthesia.
Oh yeah.
And so like all of the letters in the alphabet always have the same colors in my mind. It's kind of like they call it like a sixth sense sort of a thing.
Right.
Interesting.
So
Tyler
all
has that
the-
too, doesn't he?
No, but he's learning about mine.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
he has it in different ways. Yes.
has, like,
not the
a
color letter,
Sounds,
and he
tastes
can
certain
feel
way,
textures
right?
on his tongue and stuff. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
bizarre.
Yeah.
But I know it's so crazy. Synesthesia is very cool. But the letters in Alicia, the way that my name is spelled, it just looks like pastels to me. Don't really like pastels. It's just kind of like a lame color scheme. So I don't
What
really like
does
it.
Levi look like?
L is kind of like a dark blue. E is more like a black. V's are like a light violet purple, and I's are yellow. There you go.
See, I've heard about this. I've heard about where people see colors in like shapes and all of
Yes.
it, which is to me fascinating. Which is why you might not like your name or like anything specifically because of the association with something else.
It's true.
Wonder how many kids in youth don't like their name.
That's why my sister doesn't like her middle name because she knew a girl down the street with that as her first name and hated that girl. So that is
See,
real.
I have good people that are named Alicia and Levi. So
Yeah.
luckily,
doing
otherwise
okay.
I wouldn't
It's
tell
funny.
you if I didn't.
It's funny. There's it's like a different type. It's so my friends, some people know Julie and Denver. They separately both met Levi's that also drummed, both of them, and also made videos, both of them.
what?
Interesting.
So it's like if your name is Levi,
You have to like
there's
those
a good
things.
There's an
chance.
association.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if Levi Nibbs is drumming yet, so
But I mean, it's
So-
going
Probably
to
needs to
happen.
get on
So
that.
Levi Nibbs needs to
Make
start drumming.
there's a
videos.
good chance that he'd make videos because his dad did when he was younger, right?
Oh,
So
predestined.
yeah.
So hopefully
have to do it.
he's going to
No.
watch this and he's going to come up to us and be like, hey, you talked about me. And he's fantastic.
Yeah, this is a test to
He is
see
fantastic.
if Levi Nibbs actually watched this
Shout out
episode.
to Pretzel.
Yeah.
Yes. If he does, he should come up and maybe there's something for him.
Yeah.
An opportunity.
Maybe. Maybe. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about myself.
Okay.
I
What do you
But what do you do?
for a living? And tell us your 2 answers.
I visit with people. So my answers, I think that you're asking for, is that I'm a missionary and that I hang out with people.
But what is the career?
What's the job that most people would identify?
I
you
work
as?
in real estate.
There we go. That's what we're looking for.
I help
But why do you?
people make big purchases.
But you like to define it as hanging out with people,
Right.
And being
And
a
being a
missionary.
Yeah, I visit
How
with
does that
people.
work for you?
Which part?
Like why do you like to define it that way?
Because I find that when I go through houses with people, my goal is not to sell people on anything. My goal is to help them, give them enough information so that they can decide on
Really
wanting to
educated
buying something.
Decision.
So I'm not a salesman any more than everyone's a salesman, which is a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
I would say when I'm visiting with people and giving them information, I'm just trying to help them be educated so that they can make their own decision. I'm just there to be part of the process.
Right.
As for being a missionary, that's probably the thing I'm most passionate about. And yet I talk about somewhat the least depending on where I am.
Right.
If you get me in the wrong context, then that's all you'll hear about. If you get me in the right context, I probably won't hit you over the head with the Bible.
Yeah.
I look at it.
But you have hit people with Bibles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I throw them at them constantly. If I'm driving down the street and I see somebody who's walking, hey, there's a Bible going out the window.
Yeah.
If I can hit him in the back, then that's kind of ideal. But no, I actually have not hit anybody. I don't know if I've ever hit anyone. Maybe when I was a kid.
That's a good
With
good
a
idea.
Bible or just in general?
Period. Yeah. And I
your
refuse to hit
car?
people with the Bibles.
I'm just picturing like a skit where someone's just like hucking Bibles out the window. They're like, I don't know, pastor said to do this, and you hit him over the head with a Bible.
I guess if Jesus told me to throw a Bible at somebody, I'd
Would you do it?
probably, yeah, I would. I mean,
Like, okay, Lord,
yeah.
I don't know why.
If
I'm
I
like
was,
90% sure I've heard a story about someone who had their Bible stolen from them on a train by someone who hates Bibles. And it was thrown out the window. And the person who got hit with it actually became a Christian. I'm like 90% sure I've
That
heard
would
that
be
story.
such
Have you
an-
heard that story?
that'd be so awesome.
I feel like I've heard that story.
I don't know if I have, but that's a funny story.
I hope it's true.
I really do,
I do
too.
too.
I think that'd be fantastic.
I could see someone making that story up, but I hope it's true.
See, I'd be okay if somebody stole my Bible.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of those stories. I don't know if you've seen them. It's a podcast, Youth Group Chronicles, and they read stories that are submitted to them. And I'm like, some of these sound made up, and I hope they're not, because I really hope they're all true. Because there's some I hope that aren't true.
Yeah, they're
but
pretty bad.
There's some where I'm like, that is hilarious. I hope that really happened.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, no, I agree.
yeah. There's some I'm like, oh, that. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, needless to say,
Mm-hmm.
I have not hit anyone with the Bible, but I think it is.
What about with your car?
Like hit a person with his car.
Yeah,
I drove
Oh.
into a garage door, but I've never hit
Ooh.
anybody with a car.
it's okay.
Yeah, thankfully. Knock on wood. I have hands. Just because I'm a floating head, that's a
If you're,
reference.
if you're
Very
watching the
black.
video version, Jordan's wearing a black shirt.
I have to think about
So
it
he's
now.
a floating
My favorite
head.
color to wear is black. I wear it all the time. And Levi had to stop. He had to tell me, he's like, you have to stop on podcast dates because I was just a floating head.
Yeah, I've got this black shirt, but I took it off because it
Yeah.
would just blend in. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
So fun though.
We can still see your face. Yeah.
Luckily, I didn't pay my face this morning.
Yeah. Oh
Do
my
my
gosh.
makeup.
Oh my.
Yeah. So this was back to what are we?
Right.
Missionary.
Missionary, right? So I'm not somebody who normally. The way I look at it is that I want to build relationships. I know from my own.
And you love to do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I love people.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know why.
Which real estate, if like that's a great job too, because you're always getting to hang out with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it allows you to be flexible enough that you get to do the things you do at the church here.
Totally. You know what? I could get in. This would be a long podcast if I went into it, but
Get into it.
Yeah, we're here for
We'll
it.
tell you when we.
We'll add in some ahas once in a while.
I'm not going to get into it at this point, totally. But
Get into part of it.
being in real estate has really been very good for certain things in life in the last 6 years, because really, if I wasn't in real estate, either I probably would have been fired from a job, or people that I've helped would have not been able to be helped. So it's been, again, I think God provides, and God has a hand in your life. And
Did you see yourself being a real estate agent when you were like in high school, like when you were seriously considering a career?
No, not at all. I actually didn't really like real estate agents. Real estate agents, lawyers, and used car salesmen were all in the same category.
Kind of seemed like a little slimy,
Totally. Well, and unfortunately,
They're just
I had
in it for the money.
bad experiences with a real estate agent, not a used car salesman, but that's just, unfortunately, if your parents is a used car salesman, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean
hopefully,
anything.
Hopefully
they're good.
not slimy
Dad's
about
not
it.
corrupt. Yeah.
Right.
Hopefully you're not misleading people.
I know some amazing lawyers now too.
Yeah.
So I'm just, but one of my best friends
But
is in real estate.
stereotypically, like, there's the lawyers that do something bad and that do, I mean, you look at the States and there's like every billboard is like, oh, I could sue you financially, you could get this much money back, and I could get a cut of it too. I don't actually care if it helps you at all. They're just, but so they make a bad name for the industry, itself,
Totally.
right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of lawyers trying to do
Good
their job
things,
well and trying to do. I mean, there's the one guy who's like got a YouTube channel just so he can educate people, and he's doing it for free. Like, I mean, he gets sponsors and stuff so to help to do it, but he's just trying to help people. And but yeah,
What a weird idea.
Yeah, there's why would you want to help people?
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
But yeah, there's people that don't get into it for the right reason.
Well, this is going off on tangents that will probably happen,
That's
but
okay.
Cool.
it's like Jesus. And I say that, like, if you think about who Jesus is and you follow Jesus, you're fine.
Yeah.
But if you start believing in all of his followers as being who the people are, there's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to be a Christian. And you're like, well, why? Well, because Tom over there, I hope
I would
no
not want to be
Toms.
a Christian based on, the Christians I've met.
Right.
Like there's some great people.
Right. But then there's some people who suck.
There's some people who have made dumb choices, who have, and been misleading and been dishonest.
Yeah.
And if my faith was in them, I'd be done.
Some of my
But
favorite pastors were
not.
like that, right? Yeah. Just started making really terrible choices.
Yeah, there's some very famous, who have done stupid things, and you're like, you said what? But they make mistakes, and I'm not saying
if our faith was based on them,
Right.
Yeah, and I'm saying, not that I'm saying that I'm better than them,
No,
because I can make mistakes too, and I'm no better than they are. I'm not trying to say that, but
we're all sinners.
We're all sinners. We've all fallen short.
Yeah.
But if our faith was based on that and was based on the legalistic law of who can out righteous who, then it would not.
Well,
it would not
we all
bode
fall
well.
short.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where, when I think about, whether it's an industry you're in, whether you're a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, you do the best you can. I hope in most cases you're honest, and ultimately, and this is where I often think to myself, because sometimes real estate can be stressful, not because it's
such a big purchase, right?
Biggest purchase in your life.
Yeah.
Right. And so if something goes wrong, I'm the one who kind of has to deal with it. And I actually had, which is one of the, going back to kind of why I say missionary, I had a client once say to me, they said, how do you handle the stress? Because we can see how much stress you have, because we are trying to be you're making us happy, but yet you're also trying to manage
the brunt of it.
I'm taking everything. And I said, and this was one of those moments where I'm like, get my Bible out, I'm going to hit you. But I said to them, do you do you really want to know?
But that's
or
that
are
opportunity,
you,
right? That,
Right.
that divine appointment.
Yep. And so he said, yeah, of course I want to know. I said, well, not to preach what my belief is, but
You asked.
I'm going to, but yeah, you asked. So I said, my faith is in Jesus. And if I do everything based on biblically and based on what I know I should be doing, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And
And you have that relationship
Right.
to be
And
like, hey, is this the right path?
right. And
Yeah.
and there are times where I'll pray and tell people one thing when not when I shouldn't, but I'll tell them one thing in one case and something else in a different case, because it's not
That's what they
black
need
and
to
white,
hear.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's sometimes it's not the right house, or
Yeah.
sometimes it's the wrong timing, or the
Yeah.
there's
You just don't feel good about it in your
Right.
gut. And,
And
you're
it's-
like, hey, maybe this isn't it. Yeah.
right. Or there's been cases where I was told people not to buy or not to sell. Well, my job is to sell, so technically
Yeah. So
I'm
they're
not
probably
doing my
like,
job if I tell
Yes.
somebody to.
Why are you saying no to this? You
Right.
could get a commission.
Right.
Yeah.
Because money isn't what motivates me.
Yeah.
And that's why I say my job, I don't know if I'm saying it backwards, but my job is as a missionary, my career is a real estate agent. I don't know because
Yeah.
again, I need
It's
to
your
make
purpose
money
in there.
but
Yeah.
ultimately, I feel like I'm a missionary because my goal with every single person is to have an opportunity at some point to either connect with them in a way so that they can know Jesus, or if they already know Jesus, then we could just chat about,
Yeah.
him.
Which I
And-
think is good. You've made your goal in life very clear. And I mean, like, it's obvious that God has called you to those things, and you're just like, no, this is what I'm doing, whereas people can, well, is that really what I'm supposed to be doing? Or is that going to be enough money? Like they worry about the money. They worry
Yeah.
about whether that's going to take care of them. It's like, what is God calling you to,
Right.
know? And I think it's cool that you're doing ministry, church ministry in a way a lot of people don't typically see, right? You found this other way to do it, right?
So you're allowed to do ministry and not be a pastor, hey?
Yeah.
I thought that was...
Is that allowed?
Okay, so what? Say that again.
Well, there's just a lot of people out there who, I'm making a joke kind of,
Yeah.
but like there's a lot of people who genuinely believe that like, okay, the missional work is for the pastors.
Oh, yeah.
And so I do
Yeah.
whatever job I do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, I like that you're making it so obvious in your life that it doesn't really matter what career path you choose. You can use that for the Lord.
Yes. I personally, I would never want to be a pastor. And I say that like I have
Sweet.
so much respect. And that's one of the reasons why if you ever think to yourself, like, why is he so like interested in who I am? It's because I really care about the two of you and how you are with the kids, with the parents, with like, and the amount of pressure. Like to me, selling a house is not pressure. Like the house isn't going
Yeah.
to fall down.
Yeah.
I could not imagine being with the pressure because unfortunately you have 100 eyes, kids and adults watching you always. If you say anything, you don't know the ramifications. And now we live in a world where the world says one thing, the Bible says another thing, some churches say another thing completely, and you're in the middle of it trying
Yes.
to
Yeah.
somewhat decipher and to help the most important group of people, which in my opinion is youth. Just don't tell my grade 5s and 6s. But the most important kids
Yeah.
or people are those kids because they're so impressionable and they're learning. And so if you say, so that's why I say like, you guys have pressure.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't.
Yeah. I think
But-
we all, we all have pressure, but like it's,
Yeah.
yeah. How do you deal with that, Alicia? You've been doing this way longer than I have.
How do you deal with the pressure?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not about me.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just, I don't know. I think if I am doing
the
my
pressure
best
to
to
do
follow
the-
after
yeah.
Jesus, I just have to kind of trust that because you can't, I don't know. I'm thankful that God has given me a heart after his heart. And so I think naturally I don't know, like I find I'm usually pretty nice. I don't know, stuff like that. Because you think about like, I unfortunately am in a place, fortunately, unfortunately, where like you are in a place of influence. And so like, I don't know, I think about it all the time. I say this example all the time, but like I go to Superstore and I'm Pastor Alicia, right? Like I'm in a parking lot, someone cuts me off. I'm Pastor Alicia, right? And so like there's this part of me where I'm like very aware that I'm a human being and that I have the same struggles as everybody else, but I do have to be aware. So like I do have to take my quiet times. I do have to be like making sure that I am like spiritually okay, that I'm getting the rest that I need, right? Because like I I don't know, like it or not, you're in a spotlight. And for as much as we're saying, like, no one's faith should ever rely on, like, you know, these people we look up to or the people at church or whatever, because it would be so easy to be like, oh, they're the worst and I'm out. But at the same time, like, you have to be aware that there's a dynamic where it's like you are in a place of influence. And if I all of a sudden just start screwing up or like promoting ridiculous stuff, I could lead people astray with me, right? So I don't know. I do take that very seriously. I don't know how I handle that pressure per se, besides just giving it to God. But I think part of what helps is I feel called to it. So I don't think this is a job that I took just because I'm like, hey, this would be really fun.
And God's giving you the wisdom on how to handle each
Totally,
situation.
yeah.
Because he's what he's called you to.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you just have to walk in that, right?
If you were a real estate agent, he'd be like, nah, this is not what I called you to.
I think you'd be a good real estate agent.
Thank you. I actually thought, you know, it looks kind of fun. When I was
looks
buying my
kinda
house, I don't know, when I was buying my house, I kind of had a good time with my realtor, you know, like, I mean, we had coffee, we got to explore different houses. Some of them are really weird. I was like, this is kind of fun.
Yeah, you're like exploring different houses and what house you could have, yeah?
Yeah. That was actually fun.
Yeah.
The
but
paperwork scares me.
What's I want to say, I mean, obviously you have to be confidential with some information, but what's like the weirdest house you've ever seen?
weirdest house, or like, I mean, I could probably tell you a lot of things where you're like, wow, I got chased all over Medicine Hat by somebody once because I was parked out front of their house sending some messages off and they thought I was stalking them.
This is so extreme.
So they started stalking you.
It was so awesome.
Wait, like,
it's such a good story.
I just want to make sure this is clear.
Yeah. So,
I like your
So they
attitude.
started stalking you because they thought you were stalking them.
so I was sitting out front of a house.
Like, do they understand how ridiculous that is?
Oh my goodness. And
I'm going to stalk you.
You're going to
even
stalk me. I'm going
harder.
to stalk you back.
here's the thing. Okay. So have you ever had somebody follow you?
Yes.
Okay.
like, oh,
How
yeah.
far do they follow you?
And especially when I was single, I was very aware of it.
Like a third of the way across town.
Okay. So did they stop?
Usually,
I think I had
yes.
to lose them.
So here's the problem. Now with social media and everything, people can videotape things and stick it online, and now all of a sudden your reputation. So I drove from Rusclin to Southridge. I realized they were following me when I was about 3 blocks from my house, and I live in a cul-de-sac. Not that you should go and track me down. I'll tell you where I live, but anyway,
we're not going to dox them.
so I made a couple turns quickly, and then I drove around a cul-de-sac, and they were still on me. And that's when I realized. So they had been following me for over 5 minutes, and I had no clue. And so then I started processing, like, what do you do? Okay, do I lose them? The problem was I wouldn't break the law, so I was driving in school zones at 30 still.
Right. Oh,
And
so you're
they
near
Were
were
they
school.
trying to pass you or like rear end you or anything?
they pulled up beside me at one point and like screamed at me, and
Whoa.
and I just sat there because I couldn't see. They were in a truck, and I couldn't see if it was, you know, male, female, old, young, like no clue. All I could see was that they were filming me.
Whoa.
And so what my worry was that what happens if, again, my career
right.
gets out that I'm this shady, and I had no idea what I did.
you had done, yeah.
And that was my problem. So I drove long enough to figure out that I knew that I didn't do anything wrong. And so I'm going to say after 10 minutes of them following me, I realized, okay, I need to actually have a conversation to find out what I did wrong, which is why I know what I did wrong. So I pulled into the Safeway parking lot and had them pull up beside me. I rolled down to my window and they just started screaming at me. Why would you drive away? It was a woman, which the difference is if it was a guy, he probably would have punched me in the face first. And then I would have explained to him, and then he would have felt bad. But so she started screaming at me, why were you sitting out front of the house? And I said, because I'm a realtor and I was just sending messages off. And you could just see the blood drain out of her face.
Crazy.
And she said, well, why did you take off? I said, because some people are crazy. And so and she said, I don't believe you. So I got out of my car and showed her my text messages. And she's like, oh my goodness. Now the police are going to be after me.
Pretty paranoid, hey?
Oh my goodness. And so
Can I just say that it's like probably not a good idea to follow someone if you think they're stalking you? Like,
like what happens
that
if I
person's following me. I'm going to like make it easier for them. Like
what happens if I would have driven to somebody's house but
Also, I've thought about this before. Like legitimately, I have, because I think maybe this is like when I was a single woman, you think about these things.
Yeah.
I actually had a plan. I'm like, I would just drive myself to the police station.
Yep.
See, I didn't think that. Now the problem would have been if I drove to the police station, I would have never talked to her and never found out that I was potentially stalking her, which I wasn't.
Yeah.
Right.
But she believed
She
you
thought
were.
I was. And so when I explained to her, she apologized profusely. I tried to sell her a house.
I've never seen it.
I hope one day she calls me. That'll be the best call ever. If she
I've
calls
just
me,
never
"Do you
seen anyone.
remember?"
Have you seen anyone outside your house texting? I feel like this happens all the time. I have a fairly busy street. People park in front of my house. They text. I've never been like, that's about me.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing.
The one time it was very obvious the house next to me was a drug house, so it's like, oh, that's what they're up to. You know,
Right.
I never thought it was about me, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this relates, but I just have a story now. It's like there's a Christian speaker or whatever that I really enjoy, Brett Altman, and he made a post on his Facebook not too long ago about how he like let somebody in traffic, and then they gave him the finger, and then they actually got out and then got in behind him and followed him to where he was like parked or whatever, and then had to apologize. They're like, hey man, I'm so sorry. It's like, I'm just so used to this city. It's like, I give the finger to people all the time. I'm not used to people doing nice things for me.
Apologize.
So we had to
That is
apologize
so
for giving him the
awesome.
finger by like an automatic response. And like, I was like, why did I do
He's
that?
like, no, I should have like waved. Just got to add a finger and then it's a peace sign. And you're like, oh,
He's
thanks,
like,
man.
roll down your window, roll down. He's like, I'm really sorry that I gave you the finger.
You felt that bad about it. Yeah, this one time, there's this like weird intersection near our mall. There's like a stop sign to let traffic through. Then there's like a yield sign. Then
by
there's
the
3
movies.
lanes. Yeah.
Yeah.
By
that's
Wendy's in the
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a messed up section.
And so I had the right of way to continue on, but this other person believed that I cut them off or something. And I was like, no, like I followed the rules. and they were mad enough. They started obviously following me. Like they were like, I guess they were trying to get across to another lane, but then they were so mad at me, then they switched back to the lane I was in.
Wow.
And started driving behind me. And I was like, oh, this
Cool.
is not cool. And so I was on the highway for a bit and they were still following me. So then when I got off the highway, I just like, I think I made it through like a yellow light. So it held them up. And then I like took some corners to like lose them. But like, it was like a little freaky. I'm like, yeah, because you don't know what someone's going to do, right?
No, it's scary.
Get out of their
now.
vehicle and they've got a knife in their hand or something. Like
My grandpa cut my dad off in traffic once. They both thought that they were right. They didn't talk to each other for a week.
Did they know who it was?
Oh
Like
yeah,
what-
because like my grandpa cut my dad off. He thought he was in the right. He was in the wrong. He eventually had coffee with his friends, discussed it, and realized, and then he had to apologize. But that takes some time, right, to get over your pride. But my grandma was like, "You just cut off Brian," and so he knew right away. But he still thought he was right. So
That's
there you go.
That's funny. So there's
Family
a
drama.
story for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a few, but that's one of my favorite ones.
So
because,
being a realtor is risky now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope she calls me one day and says,
Don't
"I'd like
text
to
in
buy
your
a house
car."
with you."
Yeah, make sure if you're texting someone in front of a stranger's house that you maybe drive away to another
Actually,
area.
maybe repeatedly look at the house while you're texting. Take some photos.
Maybe take some pictures. Yeah. Yeah, if they look out their window, duck down in the vehicle. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So that was a fun one.
What so you also help with the grade 5s and 6s here at the church.
Yes, I've been doing that for a while since I think 2017. Yeah.
Why?
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 Beats the
Why do
heck
you
out of
wanna do
me.
it?
I don't know why I'm around any kids actually. No,
That's your favorite
yeah.
age, you always say, right? You know, like
it's my favorite. I say it's my favorite age.
because they're always so curious. They're always asking the right questions.
Well, and they really can't screw up.
Yeah.
Like, and I say that maybe I just swore there. Hopefully not.
No.
But I did have a grade 5, 6, 1 say to me, "You just swore."
Like,
I said, "Well,
what did I say?
Yeah, it wasn't a swear, but it got his attention.
Yeah,
But
it's a bad word at home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But no, the reason I like grade 5 and 6, I am very cognizant of my like being a kid.
Yeah.
I remember going to church camp and having a woman scream at me because I told her to shut her mouth, not understanding what I was actually saying because she had just said it to somebody else. So I just told her the same thing and then she got mad. So I remember how I felt in certain situations. And I remember being in grades 3, 4, 5, 6 ish. And I remember looking up to some of my brother's friends who treated me well. I was into hockey, so I had a professional goalie that I became friends with. And I just remember how they made me feel as though I was somebody important to them. So that was kind of why I would say somewhat started. Kristen was a pastor at Hillcrest back in 2010, I think, actually asked me to be part of it. So I was part of it for a few years, and then I had moved away. And when I moved back, she asked me to be part of it again. And the main reason, so I was just in education to be a teacher actually at one point.
Oh, really? So you probably would have been teaching that age.
I probably would have taught that age. Who knows?
Or obviously Jim because of your last name.
That could have happened. Yeah. Jim would have worked. As you've probably noticed, and maybe you don't, any kid, like any group of kids, to me are fun. They're just, whether it's grade 1 and they have energy, they believe everything. I mean, you can tell them you
went to the moon last week.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my goodness, how was it? I'm not a fan of like the 1 and 2-year-old because they don't have any, but as soon as they can start walking and talking and making any sense, they're fantastic. I just, no diaper changing and stuff.
Man, but my nephew, it's cool to see how observant he is. Like my dad said the other day, he drove up to their house, and as soon as my dad gets out of the vehicle, he's like, why are your tires muddy?
He's 3, right?
Yeah, just turned 3.
He's so smart.
Yeah.
He's like, why are your tires muddy? He noticed that. Like my dad's like, oh yeah, I guess they are muddy. Job site was a little bit muddy from the rain. He's like, oh.
Yeah, and the thing is, he just wanted an answer.
Yeah.
He just doesn't.
Well, that's funny because and then that same day I stopped by and he's outside with my dad. They're playing in leaves or whatever, and so I pull up, and he's like, "Uncle," I'm like, "No," and he's like, "Why are you here?" Like he's just genuinely. I mean, anyone else would be like, "Why are you here?" Like that just sounds like they're being rude, but no, it's just like, "No, I'm just genuinely curious. Why are you here?" I'm like, "Oh, no, like I'm here to grab something from your dad." You know? Oh, okay, yeah. He's so observant.
And that age, that's why. So kids overall, but the reason I didn't get into teaching, actually go full, is because I felt like I could see where the world was going, and not maybe the world, but just like teaching is no longer just about teaching. Now it's you can't teach them because they just pass, and there's so like I feel for kids these days because in so many situations they're not set up for success. Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is the teachers can't do anything about it, and you can't tell what you think, or like we live in now. If they asked you about Jesus and you say something, you're in trouble.
You lose your job.
And so if I was financially independent and I did not have to get paid at all for something, I'd go be a teacher. Because then I'd be like, if you fire me, which is you may or may have not heard me ever say at the church, if you don't like me talking about the Bible, then fire me. Like I'm okay with, because I want my kids to know that I am not the authority, Jesus is.
Right.
And that the Bible is what the authority is. And so if you and when I say you, the church started changing that, I would say, let's go back to the Bible.
Yeah.
And so that's why teaching was not in my cards to be paid, but yet I love helping. And
there's still opportunities to
right.
mentor kids, right? Like I think it's that mentorship piece that you really value. And there's it's kind of fading away from the school system. So
well, and you're fun because we can kind of throw you in anywhere. Hey, like you're just excited. Like hey Jordan, we need help with the grade 7 boys. We're like, cool. We're like, Jordan, you want to hang out with the grade 12 boys? We're like, cool.
Yeah. Like if you notice, I don't say a whole lot because I'm not in charge here, which is sometimes super nice. But if you watch me with the grade 5s and 6s, it's me in charge.
Right.
And so I'm a lot more vocal and a lot more. But when I'm with you guys, it's like, if you need me to do something, like if you said to me, hey, can you be with the grade 7 girls? I'd be like, yeah, as long as there's another grade 7 girl leader, because I don't want somebody to ever
nice of you. You could just
think something.
Yeah.
Because that's where it gets you know, why are you with the grade 10 girls? I don't know anything about grade 10 girls, right? Like that's, but I mean, when it comes to the boys, grade 7 is one of those grades where when you're in grade 12, you're like, why was I like that? But yet
they're all like that.
They're such neat kids.
All go through it. Yep.
Right. And the greatest thing I find is when you see a grade 7 boy who's now in grade 9 being like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I was like that. Yep.
Yeah, that self-awareness is hilarious.
Right. But it's so funny because
it is.
You can't tell them in grade 7. And yet
it has to be learned, right?
This is also why I'm glad that social media was not as prevalent back when we were young. Because like what would have been on the internet? So many stupid things.
There's some things.
Like, everything I do is awesome. Like, here's my weird, terrible new haircut.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever thing we're promoting at the time.
Right.
None of that exists.
I posted some stupid stuff.
You're like, I have stuff out there.
Yeah. No, I think I've deleted most of it. Like most of the stuff that I'm like, why? This is so unnecessary. But there's some stuff I'm like, oh yeah, no, I was a goof. That was fun. You know, like making videos with friends.
But you can still be goofy, like even now, right? Like and that's where there's that fine line between again, being goofy and doing something inappropriate and doing something that just for
it's the
fun.
time and the place, right? You know, like I think people often take themselves too seriously. Like, I mean, there's a time and the place. Like, you know, you can't just like. I mean, we can joke around now, make jokes, make fun of each other. But if I was like in a pastor's meeting or something, I'm like, I can't just start cracking jokes. Like that's just not
context.
The time and the place, right? And so like in grade 7, that's like, but
when do I do it?
But it's funny. Yeah. Like why would I say the thing that's funny? It's like, well, no, this is just not the time or the place, you know?
A few years ago, we had to have a rule. Please don't put salsa in the urinals, you know?
Oh.
Yeah.
We don't
that was a whole nother thing.
ever have fishy crackers for snack, which is hysterical because children are given those all the time.
Yeah.
And children eat them and know what to do with them and don't disastrously throw them and crunch them in the carpets all throughout the building. But teenagers cannot have fishy crackers.
Yeah.
So
well, our teenagers at least.
Our teenagers, yeah, and maybe not salsa.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? Maybe they've grown out of it.
Maybe
but
it's not a rule anymore. It's just an assumed rule.
Don't call 911 unless there's an actual emergency.
Yeah, these are normal things.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and sometimes it's explaining to somebody why you can or can't. Right.
When you're a kid, you don't process that. You don't have that risk assessment. You know, like
this is going to be
if I do
funny.
this, they just think in the moment like, oh, that would be hilarious, so I'm going to do it. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Opportunities.
Yes.
You love opportunities.
You have nothing to say about that.
Yeah, not at all. What? Yes.
Why do you like opportunity? Like, okay, so when we say opportunity, like what is it about that idea and concept? What do you like about it?
I feel like
So to give, I'll give some context quick.
Sure.
Because you spoke at youth last year.
I did.
One night, and you just was it $20?
$10.
$10.
Maybe it was 20. I don't know. You'd have to ask Emily.
Inflation.
$10. I believe it was 10.
10. You held a $10 bill in your hand. You didn't say anything.
I said, I'm going to give this to somebody tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you just held it there.
Yes.
And eventually a kid ran up and grabbed it and caught on to what you were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Why would you do that?
Because I think that this is going back to teaching in school. I think the school system, and I think in general, people, how society teaches kids is here's the box, live within the box, play within the box, and
die in the box.
Oh.
And essentially, pretty much. Yeah. Like but you live in, and this is like, and it's kind of like that idea, go to school, then get out of school and go to college and then get a job and then get married.
And then retire at 60.
Right. Like, and you can see it in, I would say, some adults where it's like, all people ask me about is when I'm going to get a girlfriend, and then when I'm going to get, or a boyfriend, and then when I'm going to get married, and then when I'm going to have a child. And it's like these questions that are, and they're normal questions, and they're good shop talk or surface level conversations because people don't know what to talk about. But yet, if you think about, and again, this is where, as a missionary, like you go back to Jesus, like Jesus did so many things that were just crazy, like walking on water or going and feeding, like having all these people. And yet I think that we get into this day-to-day life, and I'll explain a little bit, I guess, with my story, is that in high school, I had a friend tell me that I was pretty much was going to hell. I thought he said that because I didn't go to church. So I put that in a box, and I was like, okay, fine. He knows more than me because he goes to church. Then the only thing I ever wanted to do in high school was play hockey. So I was going to be a hockey player. Well, I wasn't going to be a hockey player. I'm 5'0", and I don't have the drive to do what would be necessary. So get out of high school, and I really had no direction at all. Like, just not happy. I just was, I'd say, coasting through life. And then, unfortunately, I lost my brother, and I did say that in my story last year. And what it did, I would say, that moment changed for me, is I realized that life is short, and it's really short. Like something can change in an instant. And what my brother was the type of person is that he did things. And so when I look at opportunities, I look at it from the perspective of that we only have one life. And you want to get the most out of it. And that was prior to me starting to go back to church. So I started questioning things. I tried to start finding things out. And so once I kind of knew what I believed, and then I started realizing about, when I say opportunities, I started actually reading books that had information. I always thought, like, a textbook would be so boring and all these things. But then when you realize,
interested in the topic,
right?
Yeah,
and that's why, like, when you think about the Bible, most kids, I think, anyway, this is how I was. You think of the Bible as this like boring book that just discusses that Jesus came from a lineage of David, who came from
if you start in Matthew, it's going to be
which is
pretty
also
boring.
really cool story.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right, but if
when you understand it.
But if you're a kid and all you're excited about is like, oh, I want to see this action movie. Like the Bible is the most action-packed book in the world. The problem is if you don't know what you're reading or where to start or anything, then you're just bored, right? Like any action movie is boring if you go and watch them sleep.
Yeah.
And so, needless to say, and I would probably say that often, is that once I kind of started reading books with information that would help me, I realized they don't teach the things in school that sometimes you should learn. Like you can ask
I also
things.
really respect what you're saying, because as a youth pastor, what I hear so often is we have kids who have really hard questions about God or about their faith, or they say they want to make it their own or whatever. Like it's always kind of the same language, but then they don't look for the answers. They just say, hey, I have answers, or hey, this is complicated, I want to make it my own. But then they don't dig into it. They don't actually do any reading. They don't invest in it. They don't ask people who could mentor them, like nothing. They sort of just assume they'll figure it out along the way. And then they leave church and they don't come back. Like I hear it all the time.
Well,
so I appreciate that you took time to dig into it and look.
Well, especially with camp, right? Like people are like, they come out to camp for a week during the summer. They're like, oh man, this is amazing. And they're like, it's so good. It's like, okay, well, but what, they're like, my faith has grown so much over this week. I don't want to lose that. I'm like, okay, but what did you do this week that you don't do every other week? It's like, well, I'm out here at the camp. I'm like, well, yeah, you are. But what about being out here at the camp made that difference? Well, I'm not on my phone all the time. Like you can do that at home.
Yep.
You can put your phone away at home. Like no one is stopping you from doing that. It's hard to do. Trust me. I know. And like, well, what else are we doing out here that's different? Well, we're doing these devotions every day. You can do that at home. I mean, like, so obviously, yeah, there's activities out at the camp that are different. That you can't go rock wall climbing at home. I mean, you could go to the Y, but like, you can't, like do that outside at home. You can't, go do splat ball, or I guess, it's like type of paintball. You can't do that at home. You can't, maybe you don't have a mountain bike, so you can't go mountain biking at home. And sure, you don't always get to hang out with all these people all the time at home, but you can still connect with them. You can still get together with them. You can still discuss the Bible with them. Like nothing is stopping you from doing that for free at home. Like, and camp is like that. It's such a great experience because you do get, you're forced to not be distracted by the things of this world. You're forced to get out there and just be at peace. And the nature of it, like, literally being out in nature is a great aspect of that. It's pretty neat. But there's so many other things that you can still do at home. You don't have to be out there to do it all.
Yep. I would agree 100%. And
Yeah.
when you mentioned about the phone, the one thing that I thought, and I think it's a funny concept, but if you ever picture yourself doing, like if somebody said you have 5 hours to do whatever you want, you could go to Disneyland, you could go surfing, you could go to Hawaii, you could go to like anywhere in the world. In most cases, you wouldn't picture yourself with a phone in your hand playing.
Yeah. I wish I was on
Candy
a
Crush.
beach in
Yeah,
Hawaii
that's true.
scrolling through TikTok.
Right. You
Yeah.
wouldn't. Like you would actually be thinking, I want to do this or I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
do that. And I remember playing video games as a kid. And I loved playing video games. I remember the old school, like all you needed was 2 or 3 buttons, maybe 6
All right.
at the
We
most.
have some
but-
of those over there.
Yeah.
At the old Atari.
Interesting. We should we should do that as a leaders thing.
Oh, yeah?
So the kids don't get to participate.
Just figure
Unless they figure out how to get in.
It's good for them to play because everyone's on level playing ground.
Yeah.
They
Right.
suck at it.
Yeah.
It's very good.
because the inputs controls suck
They
so
don't know how,
much.
Oh,
they don't know how to use them.
Yeah.
They don't know how to work the
I need to
games.
check
Everything's
that
so
out.
optimized on, at PlayStation and Xbox
Great
now.
equalizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like figure that thing out.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
the thing is they'd probably figure it out quick and they get
No,
good at it.
they got to come ask me how to turn it on.
They can't even
like the
figure out how to
rotary
turn off
phone.
the TV.
The
It's
rotary
really good.
So
phone.
the thing is, for those, like, because it hooks up through the coax, right? You have to go to channel 3
Yeah, on
Right?
a tube TV.
on a CRT, but they're looking for the input button. Where's the HDMI button?
Right.
Where's the source button? Like, no, you go to channel
Not there.
3. Channel 3.
Why
Why
would
is
you go to
this
channel?
Why would,
Fuzzy.
yeah. What's with all the like? Did you turn it on?
See, that's why I feel
Yeah.
bad
You
for
actually
them
have to take
because
it
they
out, blow on
don't.
it.
They would never know,
Yeah.
and you can't blame them for it.
No.
But I feel bad because I know how it was with games that I played, and they weren't designed to keep us in front of a TV. They were just games,
Right.
And now the people making the games actually have it designed so that you get addicted to the games and
Yeah.
and sit in front of them, and yet nobody ever will come up and be like, well, I shouldn't say that. I need to be careful because
Yeah.
now there are professional gamers. But in most cases, you don't have somebody saying, yeah, well, what are you good at? I'm really good at Call of Duty. Okay, so you want a job? Yeah, but I'm good at Call of Duty. Yep, sorry, but that's not going to get you your job
Yeah.
down the road unless, again, if you become a professional gamer, which,
Yeah, if that's what God calls you to.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, as long as hopefully you use your
Yeah.
influence,
Yeah.
Right.
right? And so,
And are you ready to do that?
yeah.
Yeah, I always tell people social media's number one job is to keep you on its platform, and people don't realize that. Like, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, there's a bunch of videos recommended on this side and down there maybe to
And
just
ads
keep
that
you
are changing.
and ads unless you got an ad blocker but there's all these things to try and keep you on the platform for as long as possible.
Yep.
I hadn't really thought about how much things have changed in the movie world until I did a rewatch of Napoleon Dynamite before we
yeah.
did our youth event.
Yep.
So I remember thinking it was hysterical as a kid. And so
Yeah.
I'm putting it on as an adult. I mean, all these years later, and
But
I'm
you've
like,
got
oh,
that filter of the
yeah,
current
and I was a teenager
culture.
or whatever, and I thought it was really funny. So teenagers will probably still think it's funny. So I press play and I'm watching it, and it's so slow moving and nothing is going on. And I was like, I turned to Tyler. I was like, they're gonna hate this.
But it was
but-
groundbreaking at the time.
Yeah, but
because
watch
that
any
humor
movie
was so,
now.
yeah.
I'm like, nothing's exploded. Like nothing crazy has happened. Nobody, there's no drama. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like we live now every 5 minutes or probably even less. Hey, something really crazy has to happen content wise to keep us engaged. And back then, this weird guy feeding a llama was hilarious.
Yeah.
Did they like it? Did they like the movie?
They watched part of it because there was
We
some
couldn't show
stuff
all of it.
that's-
Thank goodness. That's one of those things where that's my job to preview things because you forget, right? You watch
Yeah.
something at home versus you watch something at church. It feels different.
Yeah.
It's like there was content I forgot about. And
Yeah.
so we had to cut it off at a certain point, but we let them watch a little bit of it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even think about Disney Plus right now, right?
Right.
Like all they're doing is pumping out the latest Disney, the latest Marvel, the just content. And a lot of it, I've stopped watching because
Don't
the
have time.
quality, well, it's not even that, but the quality is
Where's the
horrible.
story?
Horrible. 1 out of 4 shows is maybe passable, but every show that's come out, I'm like, this is and then all it does is because it's 6 or 8 episodes a series, and then the last 4 minutes gets exciting,
Right.
and then it ends,
Right.
just as a cliffhanger.
To try to hook you to come
Right.
back.
Yeah, it's like, oh
Yeah.
man, this episode was so boring, and then the last 4 minutes, you're like, that was incredible. Oh no, the credits. Oh, I'm gonna wait till next week. But then your last memory is the good thing that
Yep.
you enjoyed, so now you're hooked.
They know what they're doing.
Well, Tyler and I were talking about this too the other day about how like all of the heroes now
Yeah.
are worn and tired and do everything by themselves.
Yeah, they've been out of the
Everything
game for a
relies on
while.
them.
They've come back.
Make or break on them, pressure. They're worn, they're tired, they're
Yeah.
exhausted, but they're the only one who can
Yeah.
fix this all the time. And it's such a, I don't know, it's a weird example to be setting,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, like a hero is someone who's really tired and just has to come and fix everything.
Alone by
Yeah,
themselves.
alone.
Yeah.
They don't train anyone else how to do it.
I
They
forget
just
what we
come
were
and fix
watching
it
the
by
other day
themselves.
because there was the opposite of that and there was teamwork and they relied on each other so heavily. And we were like, this was amazing. We're like, like how much more powerful whatever it
Yeah.
was because they did it together as a team and it unified them and it helped them be
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, no one's tired.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Jesus wasn't doing his ministry on his own, and he
Right,
wasn't
yeah.
like, oh, I got to come back and do it and do
Every
it all by
day.
myself, and I'm just so tired.
Well,
He raised up disciples to continue his ministry.
yeah. So, he would take time for himself.
Yeah.
Like he would be like, all right, guys, I'm checking out for,
Yep.
not exactly in those
They had
words,
to,
but
but sometimes you just ditch him, and they'd
Right.
be like, hey. Where did you go? He's like, well, don't you know I need to be praying and like spending time
Right.
with the Father? And they're like, well, okay, sheesh.
so our boss might be listening to this. He listened to the last one, said it was
Yeah.
gold. So shout out to Steve. Hey,
Thanks,
Steve.
Steve.
Thanks for our jobs. He teaches us sometimes about there's this pendulum swing. Yeah.
Well, we've been talking
So
about that a lot in staff meeting.
We talk about how there's rest and work, and most people work so that they can have rest. But Jesus set the example of resting to be
So he
efficient
could
in
be-
his work.
Yeah,
I
So
like
it's
that.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
That's really good.
It is good, isn't it?
yeah. There's a lot of other stuff like that. Yeah, it's just like he rested. So when he was in ministry, he was present.
Right.
He was fully there, and he was fully, in
Yeah.
everything, and he wasn't burning
leading
himself
from an
out.
empty place.
Yeah, which is so opposite our culture, and
Yes.
the current type of hero.
Well, how
you
much
know.
of our lives are run that way, right? Like
Yeah.
I tell myself all the time, okay, like I have to make dinner or get groceries and
Yeah.
put everything away and have my dishes washed and then I can rest, right? Yeah, it's just, I don't know, like so
Yeah.
much of our life is like, how much can I cram in and
Yeah.
hope I still get this piece of time, right? But
Interesting.
Right?
That's changed. You might have just like,
we changed a life today.
Yeah,
mine. Yeah, I'm going to leave
should
here.
come to the next staff
But I'm not here. Yeah. Hey, let me know when. I'd be over.
it's a lot of different like leadership stuff. I guess he's like even pulling from too with some of this stuff. Like, but yeah, it's we've been kind of like analyzing how was Jesus doing ministry. What was he doing? And he was also multiplying leadership and disciples, and so they could.
Well,
go
now
and
you're just
continue
showing
to work.
off to impress him. So
No, I'm not, Steve.
okay.
It's pretty good.
Stop watching.
See, I like how Jesus would use analogies. But the reason
Yeah.
I'm saying this is because I like that you guys are using Jesus as a, like, if you look at the Bible and you use the Bible as the Bible is the best leadership book.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible is the best action movie. If you think about certain things, like as long
Well,
as
if you
you
look
know
at
where
that,
to look.
there's that one image that like has all the lines of like all the connections throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament. And it's like, you thought the MCU was cool. And here's all the crossover in this. You're like, right? It's incredible how much there's tie-in with story and stuff. But you don't catch on to that when you're a kid, right?
Right. Yeah, and because you think it's just this thick book that's boring.
Do you have a favorite Bible story?
Oh, did you see that?
What?
We had that as a topic submission.
Really?
Lucas. Lucas, yeah.
that's
Lucas, if
fun.
you're watching. He was,
Lucas.
what's your,
Grove?
Groves, yeah.
He's fantastic.
Yeah,
He's another person. If you see this, Lucas, come
Yeah,
find me.
Yeah. But he
he should be here tonight, which would be tomorrow night. But
yeah, for XP.
if I see you, Lucas,
Yeah,
come
yeah.
find me.
But yeah, he submitted.
Cool,
we
that's a
should
good
share
question.
a favorite Bible story. But I'm like, I just read that this morning, so I'm like, I
Like
don't
Bible
know.
story, like I think the Jesus part is a pretty cool Bible story. I like
Correct, you win.
I like Joseph and his brothers.
Yeah.
That's a really cool one to me because it's a story of like redemption, and yet
We just got a meme submitted to our youth group about that.
From Edmar.
Yeah.
really like, because
gonna-
can you imagine
we're
if
gonna pull it up.
somebody sold you out, like completely sold you out, and then you're put in a position to
We'll put it on the screen too. But
absolutely
you can,
roast them.
You can look at it
You have to
too.
start reading at the bottom. Should we read it out loud?
I'll put it on the screen
okay.
too.
Okay,
yeah.
second.
I like it.
Yeah.
Like
Or I'll read it too.
Just
I'll read
jumping.
it for, well, I guess the podcast, if you're
Yes,
listening.
thank you.
So it says Joseph's brothers, and it's the guy stepping up a bunch of steps. And the first step is telling Joseph to stop saying he's better than you. Maybe just steal a coat. Or that's the second step. Third step, tell your dad his favoritism is hurtful. And then
They
the
skipped
final
all
step,
those steps and went right to
sell Joseph into slavery. Like, really, that's what you resorted to. You just didn't.
and
you
it's
didn't
the
stop to-
giant step so that
Yeah.
they miss all the other
Yeah.
everything
Should we
else.
just maybe do these? No. We'll just sell him into slavery.
Yeah.
brothers.
Like I say, I like that one because when you really look at that story, could you imagine if you had complete control over the people who had done you
Yeah.
wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And he did.
And we all want,
And everyone would have been like, you know what? Go ahead.
Right.
No one would argue with him.
but
Except
that's the world
for God,
we live
right?
in.
You know, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in. And I say this to my, I give a lot of examples with my grade 5-6 kids, and I'll ask them, this is how somebody was wronged. What do you think? And I've heard some of the best things, like, you should slap on me. You should call
Just
the
one
police.
slap.
And like, I've had people, like, kids they come up
Yeah.
with some great things. And yet that's our first inclination of what we should do is just get them back, like revenge.
Oh,
and yet,
yeah.
and yet Jesus said, you hit me on one side,
yeah.
hit me on the other side,
Yeah.
right? It's all
Offer
about
the other
forgiveness.
cheek.
And yet in our society, we want to see the person who,
Justice.
Well, we did.
Justice.
We studied that verse for our soap study. I just want to read it actually. Luke 6. Is Luke 6, right?
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't have my Bible. Oh, I didn't bring my Bible. That's on me. Should have brought my Bible.
That's it. We're ending this episode.
I always
now.
tell my kids to bring their Bibles.
And this is
but
Jesus
no, I
talking.
didn't.
This is Luke 6:27, NLT, if anyone wonders. But to you who are willing to listen, I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who hurt you. If someone slaps your cheek, offer the other cheek also. If someone demands your coat, offer your shirt as also. Give to anyone who asks, and when things are taken from you, don't try and get them back.
It's
Like, really?
countercultural.
That's very similar.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't try and get it back. Okay.
but I liked
Do
that.
to others as you would like them to do to you. If you love those who love you, why should you get credit for that? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, why should you get any credit? Even sinners do that much. And if you lend money to those who can repay you, and if you lend money only to those who can repay you, why should you get credit? Even sinners will lend to other sinners for a full return. Love your enemies, do good to them, lend to them without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be even greater, and you will truly be acting as children of the Most High, for he is kind to those who are unthankful and wicked. You must be compassionate just as your Father is compassionate.
What verse is, what is that? Luke.
So that's Luke 6,
Was it 6? There you go.
verse 27 to 36.
Okay.
It's highlighted as the love your enemies section on the New Version Bible app. So yeah, but yeah, it's
I like that one.
really like pray for them.
I know.
I need to pray for my enemy. Like, think about the person you dislike most,
I know.
right?
I know.
Pray for them. Pray for that person.
You know what? I do that.
Yeah. The person I dislike most, there's a lot of people who feel this way about this person. I'm not going to say who it is, but it's just like I have to pray for that person. I don't really want to.
They're probably in government.
I'm not going to get into it. That's not my place.
I've had some people who wrong me, and and I'd go out of
But
my
that's such a
way
crazy thing
to
to pray
try
for
to
them.
be, to try to do good to them,
Right.
because it's not about them, it's about me.
But then
That's
how does that God? How can God use that to speak to them? It's like,
totally.
but I was horrible to you, and you're still nice to me. Why are you still being nice to me?
Yeah.
Like it's so disarming. Yeah,
Yeah. Jesus.
it was
eh?
a great verse for the soap study.
Can you
you.
look up James 1:2 or something about endurance? And
First
and-
chapter of James is great.
Yes. So I just want you to read that.
Very
And
good.
there's a reason for this.
Oh yes, faith and endurance. Just verse 2?
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. Oh, there's that word.
great
You love it.
joy.
You're smiling. You're like, opportunity,
You
opportunity.
did sneak that in there.
100%.
For you know what? For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing.
Right.
Boom.
So there's your opportunity.
Maybe this is a
So-
time for you to go read James.
So
great-
the
great book.
reason
Very
I
good.
say that is because I don't know where the tangent has gone, but now
Yeah.
it's gone this way. Is I have imagined. What are we doing for time?
I don't know. I was glancing. Just continue.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So I've always imagined. Well, and when I say always, like last 10 years, maybe longer. I don't know. I'm walking along a beach. Like everybody likes beach, right? You got an ocean, you got water. Maybe if you want to throw some mountains in, you can throw some mountains. And you're walking along a beach, bare feet. Every once in a while, you'll stub your toe. Nobody likes stubbing their toe.
No.
Right.
But most people who stub their toe don't really think about their stubbed toe 5 minutes later.
That's true.
Right? Because it's over. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, ouch.
Depends how
And
hard
that's-
you stubbed it,
Right.
but yeah.
But just
Yeah, that's true.
right. So sometimes it's a little bit worse, sometimes a little bit better. So you keep walking along the beach. So then you step on a rock, ouch. Then every once in a while you just get smoked with a 2x4, like right across the face, and you
Oh.
fall down. It's like
Dangerous beach.
totally.
Yeah.
And
Is someone hitting me with a 2x4? Or is
well,
it just coming
I mean,
out of nowhere?
you could use it as like a wave come and hit you, and you fall
right.
down, and then you get
Yeah.
back up, and then you just keep
It could have
walking.
been debris in the wave. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And so you keep walking and along, and again, you stub your toe. And to me, that's an analogy for life. Like, unfortunately, life is terrible in some cases, but yet it's beautiful in some places. And
Yeah.
where you're walking is along this beach, and you could be focused only on the hurts along the way. And yet at the same time, you could also be focused on the beauty of what's
Yeah.
out there. And the,
Two people could walk that beach and you come back and like, how was your walk? And it's like, oh, it was horrible. This happened, this happened, this happened. It's like, and the other person
That's
could be
true.
like, well, there was some stuff in the way, but I was really enjoying the view. I was really enjoying the
Sand
smell
was
of the
really
ocean.
nice.
The sand was nice when I could walk on it and not on sharp objects, but like, yeah, it's
and
just
when
that.
you get smoked in the face,
Yeah.
if you have somebody who's willing to help you and get back up, and like that's what I
Yeah.
say, if Jesus will help you back up, you can just continue to walk. And where I say, like, that's life in general. Like, you're going to have some really bad things happen,
Yeah.
and you're going to have some really great things happen. And if you only focus on what, getting hit with the 2x4 10 feet ago, and now you only look for that.
And
Yeah.
honestly, if you're living your life for the Lord, it's probably going to be a bit worse. Like,
Can be.
it's, but it's that trust that you build.
Right.
And that endurance that he's building and that character he's building in you.
Yep.
Okay, so Lucas still doesn't have his answers.
I feel like that's
We've
just
derailed.
such a big question. The favorite Bible story.
I said,
You said Joseph.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I said Joseph.
I don't know. There's so many.
Yeah, mine's going to be a vague answer. I
I
like
could
most
be
of the
biased and
stories
say
from
Noah,
Daniel.
because Noah's my nephew.
You could.
I could. Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah, most of the stories are
Yeah.
just like my favorite stories.
Yeah.
Like Daniel in the lion's den, Shadrach,
what
Meshach, and
will you
Abednego.
do? The king likes
The creepy
Daniel more
hand
than
that shows up and writes on the wall. I like all those stories.
Yeah, that's crazy.
God speaking to him in dreams. It's all very cool. It's a very cool book.
It is. Yeah.
I'll have to read those books again. Because some of those stories I know, and some of them I'm like, huh?
Starts getting weird around chapter 10, but it's still interesting.
Starts getting weird.
What's weird? Everything's weird or nothing's
well,
weird.
an angel shows up and then it gets kind of revelation-y. It's like a foretelling of things, and it doesn't immediately make a whole ton of sense. And, it's,
Yeah. You're like, what?
It's-
What is happening?
yeah.
Yeah. Favorite Bible story. Oh man. I was a big fan of. We just actually, Clark and Shelby talked about this at the last YXH Youth. Oh my gosh,
David.
With David, yes. So 1 year, I think for Halloween, my mom was like, "What do you want? What do you want to be?" I was like, "I want to be David."
That's so
like,
cute.
Are there pictures?
I mean, my mom's like, "You're David." I don't know how to dress you up as
She
David.
didn't give you a slingshot.
Yeah, I honestly don't.
That's why he wanted to be
This
David.
was like-
Weapon, small child.
Mom, maybe you remember how old I was, but I don't know how old. I'm gonna text her
12.
quick.
That's so funny.
No, it was like I might have been
4.
I might have been. I don't know.
I hope there's a picture. At the next
There's like
youth.
See, if you're 4, all you have to do is cut like a hole in a pillowcase, a couple more for your arms, put on a little straw belt. You're good to go, right?
I'm just actually gonna call my mom.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, she can be on the podcast for a little
Verna.
bit. I'll warn her that.
That'll be fun. Verna?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Verna.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
Hi. What am I doing? I'm watching.
No, I said, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Are you hanging out with Noah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
We're doing the songs I like.
You're doing the songs you like?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
We're having a dance party.
Oh, God's Great Dance Floor?
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
You got good dance moves, Noah.
Yeah, he does.
We're doing you're on the podcast. Say hi to everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Verna.
So we were just talking about, do you remember that 1 year? I think it was for Halloween. 1 year I was trying to dress up for something. I had to dress up for something and I said I wanted to be David, like from, like when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember how old I was?
Maybe 6.
6, yeah. I just remember you saying, you're like, I don't know how to make you more into a kid. You're like, you're already a kid. And David was a kid.
Pictures.
Yeah, but I mean, we put the sheet on you so you
Oh,
look
yeah.
like a shepherd
Okay, yeah.
boy.
Did I have a slingshot?
Maybe, yeah.
Yes.
I think we have a picture somewhere.
Oh,
Yes.
They re-
Necessary.
they
We will
really-
submit that if we find it.
they really want to see this picture.
Oh,
So we'll have to
okay.
dig that up sometime, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'm not at home.
Oh
right
no,
now.
not this minute. No,
In 2 weeks.
we can
Before-
share it at
before Halloween.
youth at some point. Okay, I just thought we'd call you and ask about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, all right. Well, you have a great day.
you too. Love you.
Bye, Verna.
Love you.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye, Noah.
Say bye, Noah. Bye.
Oh. He's the best.
That's great.
Oh, gosh. Cool. So,
Yeah, I think we got to wrap this up.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm gonna keep. I'm gonna think about that more, Lucas. My favorite Bible story. But yeah.
I do want them. They have to let us know what verses. That's one opportunity.
yeah.
So
like
come
that.
find us. Tell us
Opportunity.
What verse?
They have-
what verse we read?
the 2 verses.
The 2 verses we read.
Right. So I want them to have to think of that as an opportunity to come find who? One of us?
Just
One
one of
of
us.
us.
Yeah.
Or should we tell them to go to the one leader and tell a certain leader and they don't know which one? So they have to go up to all the leaders. They might have to go to all of them.
Sounds confusing.
Maybe just come find one of us.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see. Go tell your leaders of the verses.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect.
Maybe we'll let them know at the leaders meeting. Okay.
Well, thanks, Jordan.
Thanks.
This
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's always nice
Yeah.
seeing you guys.
We're gonna
Yes.
we're gonna have to have you on again sometimes because we didn't have time to get to everything.
It's true.
Yeah.
You were holding back. I could tell. You're like, oh, that's gonna take forever.
That could be a long story. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.